So, what's up people, and welcome to the Chapter 95 discussion of Kaiju number 8, or Kaiju8号. So Chapter 95 came out a few days ago, and as always I will leave a link to this chapter that's currently being shown on the publisher's official website, Manga Plus, for free to the North American audience. So if you're interested, I will go take a look at it before they pull this chapter back. Okay, so Chapter 95. Now this one, if we recall from Chapter 94, looked like it was going to be a very interesting one because it involved Commander Ashiro, Commander Mina, right? And we never got a chance to see Commander Mina in action aside from her situations where she easily one-shot the monsters. And so it was going to be a treat to see her in action. And of course, Chapter 95 doesn't disappoint. But the reason I really enjoyed Chapter 95 was not because of the battle, but because we got to delve into Commander Ashiro as a person a little bit more. Now, throughout this entire story, we saw this commander as a very capable person, and she seemed to be quite stoic in her personality. And so, although she seemed to be very badass, she didn't really give out too much of a persona. And this was very different from the flashbacks that we got, where she seemed to be very excited to be with Kafka playing Monster Hunter, right? And so what really did happen to change her from who she was when she was young to who she is now? And we can only speculate, but Chapter 95 gives us a little bit of a in-depth understanding of why Commander Mina became like this. And it does involve Kafka. And this chapter starts out with a flashback where we see once again young Mina, along with Kafka, going to take the test for entering the JDF. And you can see that Mina is extremely nervous over the situation, and Kafka, of course, becomes her support. And what we find out is that Kafka has been taking these exams quite a bit, even though this is Mina's first time. And that's most likely because Kafka is older, but he has been failing each one of these exams. However, he felt that since he was getting closer to potentially passing, that maybe this year would be the year where both of them could pass. And Kafka became a support in saying that don't worry too much. Even if you failed this year, there's always next year, and we will always be together to take on the monsters. And of course, this gave young Mina some reassurance during her exam. And this would have gone well, except that in the very end, Mina got accepted and Kafka did not. Now, of course, we all knew that from the very first chapter, right? But we find out that because Mina is such a soft-spoken and a slightly nervous, self-conscious girl, she wasn't sure what to do because she was, of course, going to go into the JDF program alone. But Kafka basically reassured her and supported her and said, you go do what you need to do. This was always our dream. And don't worry, I will be coming up to you very soon. And we will be together once again. And so this once again reassures Mina. And she continues to enter into the JDF Academy. But what we find out, of course, is that not only does she do well, but she excels in one single part of the Academy's training, which is ranged combat, where she overwhelmingly is above everybody else in the Academy. And that's when we start finding out why Mina was accepted. It turns out that she wasn't really gifted in everything. She in fact was lower than average in most everything, except ranged combat, where she was overwhelmingly gifted. And so, of course, the JDF finding this out, and even Commander Itami Shinomiya noticing that she had this gift, decided that they were going to leverage her skills. Now, you could always change leverage with exploit. And did the JDF exploit her capabilities despite she being so young? It's hard to tell. But from her perspective, she was absolutely terrified at being thrown into the deep end. And because she was so capable, they put her as the final attack to all these battles. And because she turned out to be the final blow for the JDF, if she failed, that basically meant that the JDF was going to go down. So they put all this pressure on her that she had to succeed with every shot. Now, this is for a girl that's extremely young and extremely naive, and she wasn't really sure what she could do. Now, during the past, whenever she got into this sort of situation, she would always have Kafka by her side. But this time, when she looked over her shoulder, she was completely alone. And no matter how many times she waited and waited and waited, Kafka never appeared. And so Mina understood. She was on her own. There was nobody backing her up. And if she didn't support and succeed with her battles, then that basically meant that everybody was going to go down, and she single-handedly would have disappointed everyone, including the possibility of costing them their lives. This was a tremendous burden on the girl, but there was nothing she can do except to move forward. And Kafka always said that he would be there, but he wasn't. And as she continued to fight, she realized just how empty that promise was from Kafka. And so this brings us to the situation that we're in right now. And Mina understands that this is one of the biggest battles that the JDF has ever encountered, and she was going to have to take care of monster number 14. The entire town of Tachikawa was getting destroyed, and if she didn't take it down, not only would the JDF go down, the citizens in the town would go down as well. She understood what the responsibilities were, and despite the burdens, she promised to be able to take the monster down. And so, like we've seen in the past, she takes a very strong stance. But this is monster number 14, and it is a very powerful monster, and it actually takes the advantage of being the first to strike. And it fires a very devastating blow against Mina. But once the smoke clears, we find out that, yes, because she's riding that tiger, she is able to expertly dodge that attack. And even if monster number 14 has teleportation skills, it did not matter. Once Commander Mina got a target into her sights, she didn't miss. And we see at the end of this chapter that, yes, she doesn't disappoint anyone this time either. And so through this battle, we see not only how capable Mina is, and we see the outcome of this battle, but we also find out why Mina became the way she is. She had always looked up to Kafka, and unfortunately, Kafka let her down. However, Kafka is now with the JDF. Yes, he hasn't done much yet. We all know how he has done as monster number 8. But as far as the support for Mina, we haven't seen him really in action. However, there's most likely a reason for Matsumoto Naoya writing this chapter this way. Yes, of course, he wanted to show and introduce Mina's personality and her background. But I also think this is going to be one of those battles. Yes, it's only been one chapter, and so far, all of the other battles have been extremely long as well. And I got a feeling that this isn't over yet, and something's going to happen. And it's probably going to put Mina in a very dangerous situation. And of course, this gives the ability for Kafka to finally be able to come to Mina's side. And so I think that is the reason why Matsumoto Naoya wrote this backstory right at this particular chapter. And it will be a very nice way to bring Kafka back into the battle again. This may not be the way he writes it, but the way he put this chapter, I really hope that Kafka does come to Mina's side eventually. So how will this battle continue to go on? I don't know. We'll have to wait for chapter 96 to actually see. But I am looking forward to this very much, considering the way this chapter was written and how we kind of expect this battle to continue. And once chapter 96 comes out, I'll bring out another video. I hope you join me at that time. But this is the chapter 95 discussion of Monster number 8 or Kaiju number 8. If you read it, what'd you think about it? Any comments will be greatly appreciated. And until the next episode, happy manga reading. And as always, Jaya, nice day everyone.